Hello and welcome. Today, I am going to talk a little bit about the shoulder joint and give you a little bit of information about how the shoulder joint functions, and then take you through some movements for the shoulder joint, moving it through all of its different ranges of motion that are available. And the reason that we might want to do this, the reason we might be interested in moving our shoulders, our shoulder joint, and our shoulder blade or scapula through the range of movement that it has available, um, is because we have a tendency in our current modern culture to have our shoulders sort of locked into a down position, so arms down by our sides, and a little bit of a rounded forward position. And we tend to build up a lot of stress, a lot of tension in those shoulders, a lot of inflammation creeps in, a lot of kind of stuckness and stickiness. And then we feel like, oh, my shoulders are a mess or my shoulders are weak. And so then we think, okay, I need to do something to get my shoulders healthier. So then in in our brain, our thinking brain, then we say, okay, I probably need to get stronger. I probably need to get stronger shoulders. So then we'll go start lifting weights and doing weight bearing things. But the problem with that is that we're doing that on top of a structure that is not functioning well, that's kind of unstable, and that is stuck, has some inflammation, and doesn't move well through its ranges of motion, just because of our sort of Western lifestyle and the way we tend to hold ourselves and the activities that we tend to do. A lot of the activities that we do are things in front of us. We're on devices, we're on our phones, we're on computers, we're driving, we're in meetings, right? So we're always in this forward position with these kind of rounded shoulders. So this sequence is just about getting connected to the shoulder, learning to understand the ranges of movement that we have available to us, and then moving through um, those ranges of movement so that we can really reconnect to our shoulders. We can free up tension. We can just start to move freely. And when we start to move freely and we get really connected to how the shoulder moves and moving in a way that feels easy and feels good, then a lot of that tension can start to melt away and we can start to feel better, more connected to our body. We can start to breathe easier because we're not bracing as much in our shoulders and our neck. We can start to create more softening, more ease. And then from that place, if we decide we want to get stronger and do more weight bearing, more exercises, then we're working with a shoulder structure that functions well. So these are just really simple movements that we're going to do in order to get really connected to the shoulder joint and to free up our range of movement that we should have available to us. So just um, a little anatomy lesson. So this is our shoulder joint, and I'm not going to be super detailed about the all the bones and everything, but just to kind of zoom in on this particular area, the shoulder joint. So the humerus bone, the big arm bone, living in its shoulder socket. Okay? And notice that the shoulder socket is actually a part of the scapula, it's part of the shoulder blade. Okay? It's right there at the outer edge of that shoulder blade. And this is the relationship. This is the ball and socket or cup and saucer in the shoulders case joint that allows for the range of movement for our arm bone, for arm moving the shoulder socket. Now, the scapula, this is the shoulder blade, this triangular piece that lives on the rib cage. In this skeleton, this scapula is attached to the rib cage, so I can't show you the movements that this structure does, but this structure actually moves on the rib cage. And I'll demonstrate those movements with my shoulders in a moment. But first, just getting clear about the relationship between this arm bone and this shoulder socket, so this shoulder joint, and just kind of demonstrating these movements for you. So it can move in this direction, up and back. So this is going to be flexion, and this is going to be extension. And notice this is just the arm bone moving in the shoulder socket. It can also move into, it can move in the frontal plane, which is going to be abduction and adduction. Notice that this sticky out bone right here is preventing the arms from going all the way overhead. So that's interesting. So the way that we get our arms all the way overhead is actually then to rotate that shoulder blade upward. So I'll demonstrate that in a moment. But this is just the arm bone moving into abduction, adduction. Okay. And then we also have, for the arm bones, we also have a horizontal abduction and adduction. So we have, if we bring the arm bone in front, then we can take the arms out wide and back in. Again, just the arm bone moving in the shoulder socket. Okay. And then the last movement that really a lot of us don't really do much of, and that is internal and external rotation. So again, this is a ball and socket joint, so we can rotate the arm bone externally and internally. Okay. And so what that might look like with elbow bent is this kind of movement. Okay. So those are the movements of the arm bone in the shoulder socket. So we have flexion, extension, abduction, adduction, horizontal abduction, adduction, and then external and internal rotation. The shoulder blade, a triangular piece, also has 6 movements that it can do. So I'm just going to demonstrate those. I'm just going to turn to face away from the camera so that you can see shoulder blades moving on the back of my body. So we have, the first ones are elevation. That's, they lift up, and then depression. They press down. So lifting up, you're going to probably feel the muscles along the tops of the shoulders engaged to pull them up. And then down, you'll probably feel some muscles underneath the arms and along the back of the body engaging to pull the shoulder blades down. So elevation and depression. And then we have protraction. So that's the shoulder blades moving away from the spine. Protraction. And then retraction is the shoulder blades moving toward the spine. Protraction, retraction. Okay. And then remember I said our arm bone stops. When we're moving into abduction, our arm bone stops because it hits that bony protrusion. So if I want to continue taking my arm overhead, my shoulder blade has to move into an upward rotation. And then to bring it back down, it's a downward rotation. So upward rotation and downward rotation. See that? Other side, upward and downward rotation. Okay, so those are the movements of the shoulder blade. And then when we're moving our arms, we're doing things, we're reaching for things, we're just engaged in our day-to-day activities, we'll move in all of those ranges, and we'll move both the arm bone and the shoulder blade in different combinations. So our shoulder joint movement, or our shoulder joint complex, can get very complex. It can get very creative in how it combines all of those different movements. But today, what we're going to focus on is kind of zooming in so that we get really clear on what's moving well, what's maybe not moving well, where there's stickiness, where there's things that that we could work on improving that range of motion, and then just getting really clear on how we move. So to start for our sequence, we'll just need a strap that's adjusted to about shoulder distance. We'll need just a rolled up blanket, and mine's pretty thin. You might decide you want a thicker one. That's totally fine. I just like this one. That's a nice roll. It's a very soft blanket. And um, that's going to go on the mat behind us. We're going to actually lie on that blanket roll. Let me adjust my camera a little so you can see better. And then you may decide that you want a pillow for under your hips. So to get set up, what we'll do is have our strap handy, have our pillow handy, and then we're going to go ahead and come down to our backs. And this blanket is going to go all along the spine and right between the shoulder blades, and our head is going to rest on that blanket as well. So I'll just bring my hips to the edge of that blanket, and then we're just going to roll back and rest here. So this is taking my spine into just a little bit of a gentle back bend. It's taking the thoracic spine into a little bit of an extension. And if I bring my shoulders down, if you notice, there's just a little bit of that movement of the arm bone kind of behind the body. So we're getting a little extension here. And this position just allows a lot of opening through the front of the body, a lot of opening through the pec muscles and the fronts, the shoulders, the front of the chest just gets to expand and release and extend to kind of soften, to provide some opening, some softness, some ease here. Some things to consider as you move into this. Again, you might have a thicker blanket and be able to lift up a little higher if that feels good to you. Um, I like this height. I think it's a great height for my body, but you might choose a couple of blankets or a tighter roll or a thicker blanket. We're going to just take about a minute here. The other consideration is if you feel like when you come into this position, if your head feels like it's really back, like your chin is lifted and your neck is feeling a little uncomfortable or strained or a little um, too open here, too much kind of head back, what you might try is to grab a pillow and then just lift your hips up and slide that pillow right under the hips. And then come back into this and see if that makes a difference for you and how that feels. Okay. So today that feels great to me, so I'm going to stay on the pillow. Um, Knees bent here is a great option. If you're feeling like you're kind of struggling to be in this without the knees kind of wobbling, you might place a block between the knees and just kind of gently press the block. So just breathe here. I'd love for you to just take a minute to kind of settle in, to start to feel the opening through the fronts of the shoulders, and just take a minute to just breathe. Notice where in your body you feel your breath. Maybe notice if you can feel the ribs expanding when you inhale, and then gently contracting towards center, towards the spine as you exhale. You might notice too, if you feel a lot of movement in the chest as you're breathing in and out. And if so, maybe just invite some ease there, some softness there, and see if you can direct the breath lower in the body. So maybe even putting a hand on your chest and a hand on your belly and seeing if you can find a breath that allows the chest to be a little more still and a little bit more movement in the lower part of the body with the breath. And then just breathe a few more breaths, letting the nervous system settle, allowing the tissue to open and relax and release, allowing the breath to get slow and low in the body. Okay, and then we'll just start to do a little bit of arm movement. So here's where we'll want to grab that strap, and we're just going to place the hands on either side of our loop and bring those arms straight up so that we're holding the strap with elbows. You can have a little bit of a softness in the elbows. We don't need to have them rigidly straight. And then we're just going to let the arms, the shoulder blades relax completely. So you might feel the shoulder blades kind of touching either side of that rolled up blanket. And here we're going to take the arms overhead and then back up. Okay. So I'm going to be moving in a small range here, just taking them overhead and back up. And see if you can really feel the arm bone moving in the shoulder socket. Remember the skeleton that we just looked at? So we're looking at this arm bone moving in the shoulder socket, taking it overhead and back up. Things to look for here are, does the arm bone move well in the shoulder sockets? Are you able to feel that? Are you able to connect that movement? The other thing to notice here is, are there other things getting involved to make this movement happen? So you might feel a little bit of that upward rotation of the scapula on the back of the shoulder. That's totally fine. That's normal. What else is happening though in your body to make this movement happen? So is your spine staying still and neutral? Are your ribs staying still and neutral? Right? We're getting a little bit of kind of lengthening along the side of the body when we lift the arm overhead. But are we getting a back bend? So I'm just going to demonstrate what that would look like so you can kind of start to tune into your own body and see if you're feeling something like that. Are we moving arms overhead and the back bends and the ribs lift up and poke out? Because if so, that's our spine doing the work. That's not the arm bone moving in the shoulder socket. Yeah. And that's okay. That's something that happens when the arm bone gets sticky and our body gets really creative for how to get our arms overhead. Yeah. But we'd love to see if we can clear up that relationship and clean up that relationship so that the back doesn't have to constantly take a back bend just to lift the arms overhead. So just try to move in a range where you're just moving the arm bone. The ribs don't lift or poke up. You can keep doing the strap if it's helpful to have the strap. You can keep using the strap here. You can do one arm at a time. You can kind of switch back and forth. The idea is just to really feel the arm bone moving in the shoulder socket. Notice if other things are staying quiet, like the ribs, the spine, the neck, right? Our neck doesn't need to tense to draw our arm overhead. Our jaw doesn't need to clench. Maybe yours does right now, and that's okay. But let's just see if we can get clearer on that relationship and get it nice and smooth, nice and clean. Okay, so play with that one for a little bit. These are movements that you can do anytime. You don't need to do a lot of them. You can do them if your shoulders are tired. You can do them at the beginning of the day. You can do them at the end of the day. And there's not really a set number that you need to do. It's just about do it for a minute or so. If that feels like too much, do it for 30 seconds, right? Just getting clear on the relationship. Okay. The next one we'll do here on the blanket um, is the horizontal abduction and adduction. So we're just going to take our arms up like we're kind of like you're hugging a tree, making a little bit of a circle. And then we're just letting the arms come out wide. I like a nice generous bend to the elbows here. And then bring the arms back up. So abduction and adduction. And again, notice what's getting involved. Notice what's happening. Can you move just the arm bone in the shoulder socket? So maybe you feel the arm bone moving in the shoulder socket. Maybe you also feel the shoulder blade moving into that protraction and retraction, pulling in toward the spine and then lifting away from the spine. And again, totally fine if that's what you feel. That definitely happens to me at a certain point. About right here, if I keep going to the floor, then it's my shoulder blades squeezing along the back of my body in toward my spine to make that movement come all the way down. Yeah. So again, fine, but I'm just going to try to move in a range where I'm really connecting to the arm bone movement, arm bone moving in the shoulder socket. Clearing and cleaning up the relationships without the need to make it bigger or more exaggerated, right? More isn't better in this case at all. It's just more. And this is the case where less can often be better in terms of getting the relationship cleaner and clearer in terms of those movements. Okay. And then just let the arms come down. Just rest them for a minute. Notice what you feel. Take some breaths, those low, slow breaths. For the next one that I'm gonna do, we're gonna do the the abduction and adduction with arms overhead. I don't have enough room here to bring my arms all the way overhead, and that's totally fine. I'm just gonna bring my arms out wide, like we're making a slow snow angel, and then back down. And this one, you can feel those arm bones moving in the shoulder socket. And then you might start to feel the shoulder blades come into it to bring the arms further up. So the shoulder blades will start to move into that upward rotation. And that's totally, totally fine and needs to happen to bring the arms further overhead. So this one you're noticing the arm bone moving in the shoulder socket as well as that shoulder blade moving into upward rotation and downward rotation. And if you have more room, more space, you could bring the arms all the way overhead. But again, just kind of tune in and notice as you're making that movement. We want to see that arm bone moving in the shoulder socket first. And then there's a point where that upward rotation starts to happen. So a little bit more complex movement. And notice if we can again, keep the spine still, keep the ribs still, Keep the neck relaxed. Keep noticing the feeling, the sensation of the arms moving, the shoulder blades moving. And we don't need to shrug the shoulders way up here, so we don't need elevation of the scapula, just that gentle upward rotation. Okay. We're going to also do that external and internal rotation of the arm bone and the shoulder socket. I like to come off of the blanket roll for that one. You may decide you want to stay on it. That's totally fine. But before we come off the blanket roll, another one we can feel here is shoulder blade movement. And this is a great place to do that protraction and retraction of the shoulder blades because with the blanket between the shoulder blades, we can really feel that movement of the shoulder blades moving away from the spine and then back toward the spine. So for this one, I like the strap again. We're going to bring the arms overhead, let the arm bones just get really heavy in their sockets, and then see if you can lift the strap up toward the ceiling. So that's going to be the shoulder blades moving into protraction, and then let the arms come back down, and then you can kind of squeeze the shoulder blades together on either side of that blanket to feel the retraction. So moving in those two ranges, protraction and retraction for a few rounds, and just see what you feel there. So for some of us, we have a tendency to kind of squeeze the shoulder blades together a lot as a bit of a correction for what we think of as bad posture. And so then we feel like we are slumped and rounded forward all the time. So then we try to correct the posture by squeezing the shoulder blades together into retraction. And all that really does is create a whole lot of tension in our shoulders and keep us in that, keep those muscles that live under the shoulder blades tense and tight. And then we start to have all kinds of burning sensations and uncomfortable feelings in the muscles under the shoulder blades. And I speak from experience on this. So just being really mindful of that when you're bringing your shoulder blades into retraction, that we're not like squeezing hard here. We're just gently feeling that sensation of the shoulder blades moving toward the spine. And you might even kind of tune in and notice if that's something that you tend to do a lot of in your body. Okay. And then just let that strap come down and then just let the arms rest. So we've done our flexion movement, arms overhead, and extension, arms back down. We've done the horizontal abduction and adduction, the regular abduction and adduction. And then we've done a little bit of scapular movement with the protraction and the retraction. You might do one more here on the blanket with the scapula, and that's elevation and depression. Because again, this can be a nice place to really feel that movement as the shoulder blades slide along the blanket. So you might just elevate the shoulder blades and then depress the shoulder blades. Elevate and press. And same thing here. Notice if I just felt my ribs pop up when I went into, right? See that? So see if you can just move the shoulder blades and let the ribs quiet. Elevation and depression. And again, this is not about making the biggest movements that you can make. This is just about your movements getting clean and clear in your own mind, in your own body, getting connected. Elevate and depress. Okay. And then rest. All right. And then when you're ready, we'll just roll to one side, remove the props out from under us, come back onto your back, and let's keep that blanket and your pillow handy, because we might want some support under the arms for our rotation. And then we're just going to, again, just rest and notice what you feel in your shoulders. For me, um, there's a lot of like warmth and sort of tingling, not in a negative way, like a positive, like I can feel there's blood flow there. Yeah, I can feel my shoulders feel awake. Okay, so last one we'll do here on our backs is the internal and external rotation. So for this one, I like to bring my blanket under my arm, and you can adjust how high up you want that. You can unroll it a little bit or give it a little fold, and then just place the blanket under the arm, resting the back of the shoulder blade on that blanket. And then we're just gonna bend the elbow. So I have my arm out from my body at a like about a 45-degree angle. So it's not tucked in next to my body. It's not way up. It's just in between. And then just bend the elbow. And then we're gonna rotate the arm bone in the shoulder socket. So the movement is gonna be external rotation and internal rotation. Notice how much of that movement is coming from the arm bone and how much is coming from the hand or the elbow, right? Because I can keep my elbow still and still be able to, or my arm bone still and still be able to make quite a bit of movement with the lower part of the arm. So see if you can find the movement in that humerus bone moving in the shoulder socket. And then same thing here, trying to kind of isolate the movement to the arm bone moving in the shoulder socket and see if the shoulder blades can stay relatively quiet. And it's just about cleaning up relationships. So if it's moving a little, it's moving a little, it's fine. You're just kind of noticing. Can we get more connected to this movement? Can we actually feel the arm bone moving in the shoulder socket? And maybe that means we just start to make the movement really, really small. So we're really just isolating the arm bone moving in the shoulder socket. And you can do this one arm at a time. You can do both arms at a time. I'm just going to switch over and do the other side. And again, no real time limit here. We could do a minute on each side. Just feel feel into it. A lot of this is about feeling what's right for you, what's the right amount, what feels good. More isn't better. That kind of stuff. Just really feeling into the movement. Arm bone moving in the shoulder socket. And again, maybe you cut the range of movement in half to, to really isolate the movement to the arm bone rotating in the shoulder socket, internal and external rotation. Now you can't see as well on that side, but just so that you have the video to work with if you want to do both sides. Or if you want to, I'm sorry, if you want to do one side at a time, that's what I meant to say. Okay, maybe just a few more here. Okay. And then just let both arms come down by your sides again and rest. Notice again what you feel. Okay, and then we're just going to roll to one side, gently come up to seated, and we'll just do one in seated. And with that one, we're going to be playing with a little bit more with that extension. So moving the arm bone into extension. And I like to use a strap here around the elbows. So we'll take that strap, that loop, and we're just going to place it around the elbows. And you might do that and just kind of rest there. Just let the arms come down, just rest, feeling that little bit of extension, feeling that support. You could come into standing here if you wanted to just really let the arm bones kind of naturally hang by your sides. I'm just going to do it in seated for the sake of the camera position today, but know that coming to standing for this one is a great option. Okay. Few breaths here. Really feel that shoulder, that arm bone in the shoulder socket, the arms in the slight extension, the support of the strap. And then we'll just bend the elbows and see if we can find extensions. So moving the elbows away from the body and back toward the body. And notice this is a really small movement. And again, we're really paying attention to what is moving, what's happening here. So some things that might want to happen, particularly if we have a tendency to squeeze the shoulder blades together a lot, when we're trying to move the arm bone into extension, what might happen instead is retraction of the shoulder blades. So notice the difference. That's retraction of the shoulder blades, which does draw the arm back. But we would like for the shoulder blades in this case to stay really quiet and just heavy on the backs of the shoulders and just the arm bone moving. Yeah. Another thing that can happen is the shoulder blades can start to creep up as we try to make this movement happen. Yeah. Again, just let the shoulders relax, let those arms get heavy, and then just move the arm bones in the shoulder section. Ribs stay quiet. Spine stays in a neutral position. Just arm bones. Okay. And then just let that go. Maybe just rest the arms with the band on for a few breaths. Feel the shoulders. Okay. We'll slip the band off and then just come to a standing position. Readjust the camera here. And we're just going to stand up nice and gently. Come into our standing position. Let the shoulders and arms be heavy and relaxed. And just notice whatever you feel. you have a mirror available, you want to just kind of look at the position of the shoulders, the neck, feel free to take a look, see how things look, how they're positioned. Take a few breaths and just feel what you feel. Okay. So that is the arm movements for this particular sequence. And again, just about clearing up the relationship, arm bones moving in the shoulder socket and the shoulder blades, scapula moving on the ribs in the back of the body. We get these relationships cleared up, get stickiness and tension relieved, and then our shoulders start to feel better. They start to function better, and they start to be able to do all the stuff that we want to do in life with less tension, with more ease. And from there, once we've created that ease, if we're interested in building more strength, then strengthening makes sense. So have fun playing with that. Let me know if you have any questions. If you are ever interested in scheduling one-on-one time with me, I will have my information um, in the comments below, or in the description for the video. So yeah, have fun, and we'll see you next time.